The alarm bells rang through the metal halls of the mining colony. Hyen ran as fast as his thin legs could carry him. His blue skin was covered in sweat, and his large eyes were wide with fear. The Veltari people were not made for running or fighting. They were smart and peaceful, but their bodies were weak. Hyen reached the control room and looked at the big screen on the wall. What he saw made his heart sink. Huge black ships filled the space around their planet. The ships were bigger than anything the Veltari had ever built. They looked like giant metal monsters with sharp edges and glowing red lights. How many ships? Hyen asked Minho, the chief science officer. Minho was young for a Veltari only. 50 years old. His hands shook as he read the numbers on his screen. 2,500 ships, sir, Minho said. His voice was quiet and scared. They are Krath ships, warships. Hyen felt sick. The Krath were known across the galaxy as killers and slave makers. They were huge creatures, 3 times taller than any Veltari. Their bodies were covered in hard shells like insects. They had sharp claws and teeth. They loved to fight and hurt others. Send a message to the Galactic Council, Hyen said. Tell them we need help right now. Kang-o. The communications officer tried to send the message. He pressed buttons and spoke into his microphone. But after a few minutes he turned to Hyen with tears in his eyes. Sir, the Krath are blocking all our signals. Nothing can get through to the council. We are alone. Through the big windows of the control room, Hyen could see the first Krath. Ships landing on their planet. The ships were as big as buildings. When they touched the ground, the earth shook. Doors opened on the sides of the ships, and Krath soldiers came out. The Krath soldiers were terrible to look at. They were tall and wide, with thick armor covering their bodies. They carried huge guns that were bigger than a whole Veltari. They moved slowly but with purpose, like they knew they had already won. Sir, what do we do? Asked Su-Yang, a young engineer. She was barely 20 years old and had never seen war before. Our defense weapons cannot hurt their ships. They are too strong. Hyen looked around the room at his people. There were 50,000 Veltari on this planet. Men, women, and children who had come here to work in the mines and build a new life. They had no soldiers. They had no warships. They only had mining tools and transport vehicles. Get everyone to the deep tunnels, Hyen said. The old mining shafts are the safest place. Maybe the Krath will not find them there. As his people ran to follow his orders, Hyen stayed in the control room. He stared at the communication system. There had to be someone in the galaxy who could help them. Someone who was not afraid of the Krath. Then he remembered something. A few months ago, a trade ship captain had told him a strange story. The captain had been drinking too much, and his words were hard to believe. He talked about a species from a place called the Sol System. He called them humans. The captain said these humans were different from other species. They were not very big or very smart like the Veltari. But they were dangerous, very dangerous. The captain said humans love to fight. He said they were so violent that other species were afraid of them. At the time, Hyen had thought it was just a drunk captain telling lies. But now, with Krath soldiers walking through their streets, any hope was better than no hope. Hyen looked at the star maps on his computer. The Sol System was far away, at the edge of known space. Most people thought it was empty. But maybe, just maybe, these humans were real. Minho, Hyen called. Can you send a signal to the Sol System? Minho looked confused. Sir, that system is very far away. It will take a lot of power. And we do not know if anyone lives there. Do it anyway, Hyen said. He could hear explosions outside now. The Krath had started attacking the buildings. Send the strongest signal we can make. Minho worked at his controls. Ready, sir? What should the message say? Hyen thought for a moment. He did not know how to talk to humans. He did not even know if they spoke Galactic Standard Language. But he had to try. Unknown species of Sol System, Hyen said slowly as Minho recorded his words. This is the Veltari mining colony. On Kepler 442b, the Krath Dominion is attacking us. We have 50,000 civilians in danger. We will pay any price for military help. Please, if you can hear this, help us. Minho sent the signal out into space. It would take days to reach the Sol system, if anyone was there to hear it. The explosions outside got louder. Through the windows, Hyen could see fires burning in the colony. Krath soldiers were breaking down doors and taking Veltari prisoners. Some of his people were fighting back with mining tools, but it was useless. The Krath were too strong. "Sir, we should go to the tunnels now," Kong said. "The Krath will be here soon." Hyen took one last look at the communication system. The message was sent. Now they could only wait and hope. Hope that humans were real. Hope that they would come. Hope that they were as dangerous as the drunk captain had said. As Hyen ran toward the tunnels with his people, he could hear the Krath soldiers getting closer. Their heavy feet made the ground shake. Their alien voices filled the air with sounds. Like breaking metal. In the deep tunnels, 50,000 Veltari waited in the dark. Children cried softly. Adults whispered prayers to their gods. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Would help come in time? Far above them, Hyen's message traveled. Through space at the speed of light? It carried the desperate hope of a peaceful people who had never learned to fight. It flew toward a small yellow star and a blue planet where something called humanity was waiting, but Hyen did not know what humanity really was. He did not know that his message would bring something far more terrible than the Krath. He only knew that his people were dying, and he had sent their only hope into the dark between the stars. 3 days had passed since Hyen sent the message to the Sol system. 3 days of hiding in the dark tunnels deep under the ground. 3 days of listening to the Krath soldiers stomping around above them, looking for more Veltari to capture. The tunnels were cold and wet. They smelled like old nettle and fear. 50,000 Veltari sat in the darkness, trying to be quiet. The children had stopped crying after the first day. Even they knew that making noise meant death. Hyen sat near a small computer screen that Minho had set up. It was connected to the sensors on the surface. The screen showed him what was happening above ground, and it was not good. The Krath had destroyed most of the colony buildings. They had set up big camps where they kept Veltari prisoners. The prisoners were being loaded onto transport ships. "Where are they taking our people?" asked Su-Yang. She sat next to Hyen, staring at the screen. "To the slave markets," Hyen said quietly. "The Krath sell people to other species who need workers. Our people will spend the rest of their lives working in mines on other planets." Su-Yang started to cry, but she tried to do it quietly. Many other Veltari were crying too. They all knew. Friends and family members who had been captured. Minho was watching different screens. These ones showed the space around their planet. "Sir," he said suddenly, "something is happening." Hyen looked at Minho's screen. At first, he saw only the Krath ships floating in space like black clouds. There were so many of them that they blocked out the stars, but then he saw something else. Small dots were moving toward their planet from the edge of the solar system. "What are those?" Hyen asked. Minho worked at his controls, trying to get a better look at the dots. "I do not." "No, sir. They are ships, but they are not in our database. I have never seen ships like these before." The dots got bigger as they came closer. They were definitely ships, but they looked nothing like the big, round ships that most species used. These ships were long and thin, with sharp points at the front. They looked like flying knives. "How many ships?" Hyen asked. 50 ships, sir," Minho said. "They are very small compared to the Krath ships. Each Krath ship is 50 times bigger." Hyen felt his hope dying. 50 small ships against more than 2,000 huge Krath warships? It would be like insects trying to fight elephants, but then something strange happened. The small ships did not slow down as they got close to the planet. Most ships would slow down to avoid crashing, but these ships kept going at full speed. "Sir," Kong said from his communication station. "I'm getting a signal from the Krath?" Hyen asked. "No, sir." "From the unknown ships. They are speaking galactic standard language, but their accent is strange." "Put it on the speakers, Hyen." said, a voice filled the tunnel. It was calm and cold, like winter wind. Kepler 442b Colony, this is Commander Do-Yun of the Terran Coalition Navy. 5th Rapid Response Fleet, we received your distress call. Tell us where the craft positions are and take shelter. Fighting begins in 30 minutes. Everyone in the tunnel became very quiet. Even the children stopped moving. Terran Coalition Navy? None of them had ever heard of Terrans before. Terran, Hyen said slowly. Could that mean they are from Terra? The old word for Earth? Earth is in the Sol system, Minho said, his eyes wide. Sir, I think these are the humans you sent the message to. Hyen grabbed the microphone. Commander Do-Yun, this is Administrator Hyen of the Veltari colony. Thank you for coming. But you only have 50 ships. The Krath have more than 2,000. You should call for more help. But there was no answer. The human ships did not respond to any more calls on the sensor screens. Hyen watched the human ships move into position around the planet. They spread out in a pattern that made no sense to him. They were not grouping together for protection, like normal warships would do. Instead, they were spreading far apart, like they wanted the Krath to find them easily in space above the planet. Krath War Commander Thek was also watching the human ships. Thek was a huge creature even for a Krath. His shell was covered in scars from many battles. He had conquered 12 worlds and enslaved millions of people. Thek looked at the human ships on his screen and laughed. The sound was like metal being crushed. 50 tiny ships, he said to his officers. Are these humans stupid, or are they here to surrender? Should we send a message asking them to surrender? Asked one of Thek's officers. No, Thek said. We will destroy them quickly and get back to collecting slaves. These humans are not worth talking to, but Thek was wrong about humans. He had never fought humans before. No one in the galaxy had. Humans were new, and they were different from every other species in the tunnels. Hyen watched the countdown on his screen. 29 minutes until the humans said they would start fighting. The Krath ships were not moving. They were just floating in space, waiting like they did not care about the humans at all. Sir, Minho said, I am reading something strange from the human ships. What kind of strange? Hyen asked. Their engines are very hot. Much hotter than normal ship engines. And they are not using energy shields like other species do. I do not understand their technology. Maybe their technology is old, Su Yang said. Maybe they are primitive, but Hyen was not so sure. Something about the human commander's voice had been different. It was not the voice of someone who was afraid or unsure. It was the voice of someone who knew exactly what they were going to do. The minutes counted down. 20 minutes. 15 minutes. 10 minutes. The Krath ships still had not moved. They were acting like the humans were not even there. 5 minutes. Hyen found himself holding his breath. Around him, 50,000 Veltari were doing the same thing. They were all staring at the screens, waiting to see what would happen. 3 minutes. 2 minutes. 1 minute. Then, exactly 30 minutes after Commander Do-Yun had promised, the fighting began, but it did not begin the way anyone expected. There were no warnings, no demands for surrender, no speeches about honor or glory. The human ships simply opened fire, and when they did, Hyen realized that his people had called something into their galaxy that was far more dangerous than the Krath could ever be. The first Krath ship exploded in a ball of fire so bright that it hurt to look at it. Then another one exploded. Then 10 more. The humans were not using weapons that anyone recognized. They were not using energy beams or plasma cannons like other species. They were using something that moved so fast it was almost impossible to see. What are they shooting? Minho asked, his voice full of shock. Hyen stared at the screens as more Krath ships exploded. Whatever the humans were doing, it was working. And it was terrifying. In space, War Commander Thek was screaming orders at his officers, but his officers were screaming too. Nothing like this had ever happened before. The humans had arrived, and the galaxy was about to learn what that really meant. The first hour of the battle was like nothing anyone in the galaxy had ever seen. Hyen watched the screens in the tunnel with his mouth open. His people crowded around him, staring at the impossible things happening above their heads. The human ships moved in ways that should have been impossible. They turned sharp corners at speeds that should have killed everyone inside. They spun and twisted through space like they were dancing, but it was a dance of death. How are they doing that? Minho whispered. No living creature can survive those kinds of movements. Suyang was watching her engineering displays. The numbers she was seeing made no sense. Sir, the human ships are pulling over 40 times normal gravity when they turn. Any normal person would be crushed into paste. But the humans kept moving, kept fighting, kept destroying Krath ships. The weapons the humans used were unlike anything in the galactic databases. Instead of energy beams that could be blocked by shields, the humans shot solid objects. These objects moved at incredible speeds, so fast that they punched through Krath armor like it was paper. They are shooting pieces of metal, Minho said, studying his sensors. Just metal, but moving at almost the speed of light. That should be impossible, Suyang said. The energy needed to move metal that fast would destroy the ship shooting it. But the humans were doing it anyway. And it was working. War Commander Thek was learning that his shields were useless. Krath technology was built to stop energy weapons. But when a piece of metal hit his ships at near light speed, it did not matter how strong the shields were. The metal went right through everything. Return fire. Thek screamed at his gunners. Destroy those tiny ships. The Krath fleet began shooting back. Huge energy beams filled space with deadly light. Any normal ship hit by those beams would be destroyed instantly. But when the Krath weapons hit the human ships, something strange happened. The human ships did not try to dodge the energy beams. Instead, they seemed to absorb them somehow. Their hulls glowed white-hot, but they kept fighting. Their ships are made of something we do not understand, Minho said. The Krath weapons are hitting them, but the humans are not dying. Hyen watched as one human ship took a direct hit from a Krath superweapon. The blast should have vaporized the ship completely. Instead, the human ship just glowed brighter and kept shooting. Then the human ship did something that made everyone in the tunnel gasp. Its engines stopped working, and it began to fall toward a Krath battleship. At first, Hyen thought the ship was out of control. But then he realized the truth. The human ship was using itself as a weapon. The human ship crashed into the Krath battleship at full speed. Both ships exploded in a fireball that lit up space for thousands of kilometers. But before the human ship died, it had destroyed a Krath ship that was 100 times bigger. They killed themselves on purpose, Suyang said, her voice full of horror. They used their own ship as a bomb. But it was not just one ship. As the battle continued, more and more human ships began ramming into Krath vessels when their weapons stopped working. The humans seemed to have no fear of death. They treated their own lives like ammunition to be spent. Commander Doyan's voice came over the radio again, as calm as before. Krath capital ship neutralized. Damage to our forces is acceptable. Moving to next target. Acceptable? Hyen thought. They just killed themselves and he calls it acceptable? The battle continued for 6 hours. 6 hours of watching the impossible happen. The human ships fought like machines, never getting tired, never retreating, never asking for mercy. When they were damaged, they kept fighting. When they were dying, they used their deaths as weapons. The humans used tactics that violated every rule of space warfare. They released clouds of tiny robots that ate through Krath armor. They fired weapons that turned Krath ships inside out. They sent signals that made Krath computers explode. Most terrifying of all, they showed no emotion. There was no anger in their voices, no fear, no excitement. They fought like it was just a job they had to do. By the 4th hour, the Krath fleet was falling apart. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being destroyed by vessels a fraction of their size. Krath soldiers who had never known fear were screaming in panic. War Commander Thek tried to retreat. He ordered his surviving ships to run away from the human fleet. But the humans were faster. They chased down every Krath ship that tried to escape and destroyed it. Please! that finally sent a message to the humans: we surrender. We will leave this system and never return. The human response was immediate and cold. Surrender is not acceptable. All hostile forces will be eliminated. They could not believe what he was hearing. In galactic warfare, enemies always accepted surrender. It was the civilized way to fight. But these humans did not seem to care. About civilization. In the tunnels, Hyen was beginning to understand what his distress call had brought to their galaxy. These were not rescuers. These were something much more dangerous. "Sir," Kang said from his communication station, "I am picking up Krath emergency broadcasts. They are sending warnings to all Krath ships in the galaxy." "What are they saying?" Hyen asked. Kang listened to the broadcasts, his face getting paler. "They are saying that humans are monsters. They are telling all Krath forces to avoid human space at all costs. They are calling humans the death species. By the 6th hour, it was over." The largest Krath invasion fleet in history had been reduced to floating wreckage. Over 2,000 ships destroyed by 50 human vessels. And the humans had not asked recorder, had not taken prisoners, had not shown any mercy at all. Commander. Doyan's voice came over the radio one final time. "All hostile forces eliminated. Colony is secure. Prepare for landing operations." Human ships began descending toward the planet's surface. As they landed, Hyen could see them through the surface. Cameras. The ships were covered in scorch marks and holes, but they had soldiers came out of the ships. They were smaller than Krath, about the same size as Valtari, but there was something wrong with them. They moved too smoothly, too perfectly. Their eyes glowed with artificial light. Parts of their bodies seemed to be made of metal instead of flesh. "Sir," Suyang said quietly, "I do not think those are normal living beings." Hyen stared at the human soldiers on his screen. They had answered his call for help. They had saved his people from slavery. But looking at them now, he wondered, if they had just traded one kind of nightmare for another, what kind of species turned themselves into living weapons? What kind of people fought without fear, without mercy, without any emotion at all? And most importantly, what did they want in return for their help? As human soldiers secured the surface of the planet, Hyen realized that his real problems were just beginning. The Krath had wanted to enslave his people. But what did humans want? Soon he would find out. And the answer would terrify him more than the Krath ever had. The all-clear signal came 12 hours after the last Krath ship had been destroyed. Hyen led his people out of the tunnels and back to the surface. What they found there made them all stop and stare. Their colony was mostly in ruins. The Krath had burned many buildings and broken others. But now there were new structures everywhere. The humans had built them in just a few hours. They were simple metal buildings, but they were perfectly made. Every line was straight, every corner was exact. Human soldiers stood guard at every important location. They did not talk to each other. They did not move unless they had to. They just stood there like statues, watching everything with their glowing artificial eyes. Jiho, a young Valtari technician, walked up to one of the human soldiers. He wanted to say thank you for saving them. But when he got close, he stopped and stared. The human soldier's face was partly metal. One of his eyes had been replaced with a glowing red device. His left arm was completely artificial, made of black metal and moving parts. When he breathed, Jiho could hear mechanical sounds coming from inside his chest. "Thank you for helping." "US," Jiho said quietly. The human soldier turned his head to look at Jiho. The movement was too smooth, too perfect. "You are welcome, civilian. Please remain in designated safe areas until security sweep is complete." The soldier's voice sounded human, but there was something wrong with it. It was too even, too controlled. Like a computer trying to sound like a person. Jiho backed away, frightened. This was not what he had expected heroes to look like. Meanwhile, Hyen was walking toward the largest human building. A human officer had told him to come there for a meeting about payment for services rendered. The words made Hyen nervous. What kind of payment did humans want? Inside the building, everything was clean and white. There were no decorations, no pictures, nothing that showed personality. It looked more like the inside of a machine than a place where people worked. Major Wusung was waiting for him. The human officer looked more normal than the soldiers outside, but not by much. His eyes were still artificial, glowing with blue light. His right hand had been replaced with something that looked like a tool with many different parts. "Administrator Haiyan," Major Wusung said, "please sit down. We need to discuss the terms of our arrangement." Haiyan sat in a chair that was perfectly sized for his body. Somehow, the humans had known exactly what size to make it. "Major, my people are very grateful for your help. The Krath would have enslaved us all if you had not come." "Yes," Major Wusung said. "The Krath Dominion has been a problem in this sector for some time. We were happy to help solve it." "What kind of payment do you want?" Haiyan asked. "We are not a rich colony, but we have some valuable metals from our mines." Major Wusung smiled, but it did not look like a real smile. It looked like something he had learned to do by watching other people. "We do not want your metals, Administrator. What we want is information." "Information?" "Yes, we want to know about every species in this galaxy. How many worlds do they control? What weapons do they have? How do they fight? What are their weaknesses?" Haiyan felt cold inside. "Why do you want to know those things?" Major Wusung leaned back in his chair. "Administrator, let me tell you about humanity. We are not like other species you have met. We did not evolve to be peaceful and happy. We evolved to survive." The Major stood up and walked to a wall screen. Pictures appeared on the screen showing a blue and green planet. "This is Earth, our homeworld. For thousands of years, we fought wars against each other. We almost destroyed our planet many times. The only humans who survived long enough to reach space were the ones who were very good at fighting." More pictures appeared. These showed humans, but they looked different from Major Wusung. They looked more natural, more alive. "These are what humans used to look like," the Major said. "But being natural was not enough. In space we found many dangers. Alien diseases that could kill us. Radiation that would destroy our bodies. Environments that were too hot or too cold for normal human life." New pictures showed humans who looked more like Major Wusung. Humans with artificial parts, glowing eyes, metal limbs. So we changed. Ourselves, we replaced our weak parts with strong parts. We made our eyes better so we could see in the dark. We made our bones stronger so we could survive in high gravity. We changed our brains so we could think faster and feel less pain." Haiyan stared at the pictures with growing horror. "You made yourselves into machines?" "We made ourselves into better humans," Major Wusung said. "Humans who could survive anything. Humans who could fight anyone and win. But why do you need to fight? The galaxy is big enough for everyone." Major Wusung looked at Haiyan with his artificial eyes. "Administrator, you called us because the Krath were going to enslave your people. The Krath exist because other species let them exist. Your galactic council talks and makes laws, but they do not stop species like the Krath from hurting innocent people. The council tries to keep peace," Haiyan said weakly. "The council fails to keep peace," Major Wusung replied. "There are many species like the Krath in this galaxy. Species that take what they want by force. The only way to stop them is to be better at force than they are." Haiyan began to understand what the Major was saying. "You want to conquer the galaxy?" "No," Major Wusung said. "We want to control it." "There is a difference. We do not want to rule other species. We want to make sure that species like the Krath can never hurt innocent people again." "And if other species do not want your control?" Major Wusung's artificial smile came back. "Then they will have to fight us. And as you saw today, we are very good at fighting." The Major sat down again. "We saved your people, Administrator. But we also learned important things from this battle. We learned how Krath ships work. We learned their tactics. We learned their weaknesses. This information will help us protect other innocent species from Krath attacks." "What do you want us to do?" Haiyan asked. "Give us access to your communication networks. Let us build a base in your system. Help us contact other species who might need our protection." The Major paused. In return, we will make sure that no one ever threatens your people again. Haiyan thought about this offer. It sounded good, but something felt wrong. What if we say no? Major Wusung was quiet for a long moment. Administrator, look around you. Look at what we did to the largest craft fleet in the galaxy. We did it with 50 ships. We have thousands of ships. We have weapons that your scientists cannot even understand. We have soldiers who feel no fear and never get tired. The major leaned forward. We came here to help you because helping you helped us, but we do not need your permission to build a base in your system. We do not need your permission to contact other species. We are asking you to work with us because it is better for everyone if we are friends instead of enemies. Haiyan felt his heart sinking. You are not giving us a choice. We are giving you the best choice possible, Major Wusung said. You can work with us willingly, and your people will be safe and happy. Or you can fight us, and your people will be conquered. Or you can try to ignore us, and eventually someone else will threaten you, and we will not be there to help. Haiyan stared at the human major. He realized that his desperate call for help had brought something to the galaxy that might be worse than the Krath. The Krath wanted slaves. But humans wanted something much more dangerous. They wanted control of everything. I need time to think, Haiyan said. Of course, Major Wusung replied. Take all the time you need. We will be here, protecting your people while you decide. As Haiyan left the human building, he knew the decision had already been made. The humans were not going to leave. They were here to stay, and the galaxy would never be the same again, walking through his ruined colony, surrounded by human soldiers, who looked more like machines than people. Haiyan wondered if his distress call had saved his people or doomed them all. News of the human victory spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. The surviving Krath ships had broadcast emergency warnings to every Krath base and ally. Within days, every major species in the galaxy knew about the strange beings. From the Sol system, on the Galactic Council homeworld, emergency meetings were held around the clock. Council Speaker Nari, a Veltari diplomat, stood before representatives of 47 different species. The large chamber was filled with worried voices speaking in dozens of languages. We have confirmed the reports, Nari said, her voice carrying across the chamber. A species calling themselves humans destroyed the largest Krath invasion fleet in recorded history. They used only 50 ships to do it. A representative from the Zenthari species raised his tentacled arm. The Zenthari were known for being peaceful and careful. How is this possible? Our military experts say the numbers do not make sense. Nari activated a holographic display showing the battle. The images had been recorded by Veltari sensors and transmitted to the Council. The humans use weapons and tactics that we do not understand. They shoot solid objects at nearly the speed of light. Their ships can survive damage that would destroy any other vessel, and their soldiers seem to feel no fear of death. A loud roar came from the section where the Korvaxi sat. The Korvaxi were a warrior species, though not as brutal as the Krath. Their representative, a massive creature covered in thick fur, stood up. These humans sound like worthy opponents, the Korvaxi sighed. Perhaps we should contact them. Warriors respect other warriors. That is exactly what we should not do, said the representative from the Ethereals. The Ethereals were an ancient species, older and wiser than most others in the galaxy. They rarely spoke in council meetings, so when they did, everyone listened. Why? Asked the Korvaxi. The Ethereal's voice was soft but filled with sadness. Because we have seen species like this before. Species that solve every problem with violence. Species that believe strength is the only thing that matters. They always end the same way. What way? Nari asked. They take over everything, the Ethereal replied. First, they help people who are in trouble. Everyone thinks they are heroes. Then they build bases to protect the people they helped. Then they offer protection to other species. Finally, anyone who does not accept their protection becomes their enemy. The chamber became very quiet. Everyone was thinking about what the Ethereal had said. What do you suggest we do? Nari asked. Stay away from them, the Ethereal said. Do not contact them. Do not ask for their help. Do not let them. Build bases in your systems, and hope that they stay in their own part of the galaxy. But it was already too late for that advice. On a space station at the edge of Veltari space, Captain Tae-young was reading intelligence reports that made his blood run cold. The humans had not stayed on Kepler 442b after destroying the Krath fleet. They had spread out across dozens of systems. The reports all said the same thing. Human ships would arrive at a system and offer to help with any problems. Pirates attacking trade ships? The humans would destroy the pirates. Hostile aliens threatening colonies? The humans would eliminate the threat. Natural disasters? The humans would provide aid and supplies, but after helping, the humans always stayed. They would build a small base for emergency response. They would ask for permission to use the local communication networks for coordination with other human forces. They would offer to patrol trade routes for increased security. Within weeks, the humans had established a presence in over 100 systems. They called it the Terran Protection Network. Each base was small and the humans were always polite. But Captain Tae-young could see the pattern. The humans were building a web of control across the galaxy, on Earth. Admiral Seojun stood in a room deep underground, surrounded by screens showing star maps. Red dots marked every human base, every human ship, every system where humans had influence. There were already thousands of red dots, and more appeared every day. Status report, Admiral Seojun said to his staff. Phase 1 is complete, sir, reported his aide. We have established contact with over 300 species. 47 have requested our protection services. 12 have asked us to help with military problems. Any resistance? Some species are avoiding us, sir. The ethereals have withdrawn deeper into their territory. The Zenthari are building new sensor networks to detect our ships. A few minor species have formed an alliance to monitor human activities. Admiral Seojun smiled. It was not a warm smile. Let them monitor us. Let them build their sensors. It does not matter. We are not hiding what we are doing. What about the Galactic Council, sir? They have sent several requests for a formal meeting. Ignore them, Admiral Seojun said. The Council is weak. They talk instead of acting. They make laws that no one follows. We do not need their permission for anything. The Admiral walked over to a large screen showing the entire galaxy. Most of it was still unmarked by human presence, but red dots were spreading outward like an infection. Sir, his aide said carefully, some of the other officers are asking questions about our ultimate goals. They want to know what happens after we have bases everywhere. Admiral Seojun turned to look at his aide. His eyes had been replaced with artificial ones long ago, but they still showed emotion. Right now, they showed cold determination. What happens next is simple, the Admiral said. We make sure that no species in this galaxy can threaten human survival. Ever. And if they try to stop us, then they will learn what the Krath learn. We are better at violence than anyone else. We will always be better at violence than anyone else. That is what makes us human. Meanwhile, back on Kepler 442b, Haiyan sat in his office reading reports from across the galaxy. The humans had been true to their word. The Krath had not returned. No other hostile species had threatened the colony. Trade ships were arriving safely. His people were rebuilding their homes, but Haiyan was not happy. Every day, more human ships arrived in his system. Every day, the human base got bigger. Every day, he felt more like a prisoner than a free person. A young Veltari named Taeyan came into his office. Taeyan worked in communications and had been monitoring galactic news networks. Sir, Taeyan said, I have been reading reports from other worlds. The same thing that happened here is happening everywhere. The humans help people, then they stay and build bases. I know, Haiyan said sadly. Sir, there is something else. I have been analyzing the pattern of where humans are building bases. They are not random. The humans are positioning themselves to control all the major trade routes and communication networks in the galaxy. Haiyan looked at the map Taeyan showed him. The red dots marking human bases formed a web that would eventually cover everything. In a few years, Tan said, no ship will be able to travel between star systems without human permission. No message will be sent without humans reading it. No trade will happen without humans controlling it. Haiyan stared at the map. We called them for help, he said quietly, and they came. But what we got was not rescue, we got conquest. What can we do, sir? Haiyan was quiet for a long time. Outside his window, he could see human soldiers patrolling the streets of his colony. They were protecting his people just as they had promised. But they were also controlling them. Nothing, Haiyan finally said. We can do nothing. The humans are too strong, too smart, and too organized. Fighting them would be suicide. Ignoring them is impossible. The only choice we have is to cooperate and hope they keep treating us well. But sir, what about freedom? What about independence? Haiyan looked at his young assistant with tired eyes. Freedom is a luxury for species that are strong enough to protect themselves. We are not strong enough. So we must accept protection from those who are, even if the price is our independence. That night, Haiyan stood on the roof of his building, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the same conversation was happening on thousands of worlds. Species that had called for human help were learning what the price really was. The galaxy had wanted to know what lay beyond the outer rim in the mysterious Sol system. Now they knew. Humans lay beyond the rim. And humans were very good at making sure that once they arrived somewhere, they never left. A human transport ship flew overhead, carrying supplies to the growing base. Its lights blinked in the darkness like cold stars. Haiyan whispered a prayer to his gods. But he was not praying for salvation anymore. He was praying that humanity would be benevolent masters instead of cruel ones, because masters they would be, whether the galaxy wanted them or not. The distress signal had been sent, and what had arrived would change everything forever. The age of human dominance in the galaxy had begun.